with all this woke nonsense. And I don't usually use words like woke. I'm really all that trash people are talking. Everything is pretty, black and white to me. You know, but She-Hulk is terrible. I tried to give it a chance. I watched the last episode. The Megan Thee Stallion episode really pissed. It just is just. She-Hulk is twerking. The CGI is not that good. The Hulk is doing yoga. Bronski, who's the abomination, this vicious, supposed to be the bad guy. Now he's the good guy. This guy, in this last episode, he's sitting with his legs crossed and and they said this whole thing was written by 5 women who never read the comic books. Listen, some of you might go, you know what, Tone, it's the comic book. What do you know about comic books? And I just want to stop y'all right there before, you start going in on me and comic books, all right? Because I got hundreds of them, all right? I got hundreds of them. Hundreds of them, all right? In a box. I used to read comic books. I stopped about, 10, 15 years ago, but I'm a fan of She-Hulk. I'm a fan of the Hulk. And I heard this excerpt. These women who wrote it says, all the movies about something that's world-ending universe, and they wanted to know, they wanted to illustrate what these superheroes do in between that time, like their everyday stuff. And I'm here to tell you, nobody who reads comic books cares about a superhero's every day-to-day life other than Spider-Man. And that's because we fell in love with Aunt May, especially the hot Aunt May. Uncle Ben, we already know what happened to him. And he had Mary Jane, so we kind of cared about Mary Jane. We cared about definitely Aunt May. Uncle Ben had already passed on. But we cared about Peter's smarts. He showed his ability, even though he's a struggling superhero. He has nobody, he's broke. You know what I'm saying? And Aunt May, she's struggling since Uncle Ben is gone. So we get that. We're invested. He lives in New York. It's expensive. He's trying to save people and do what his uncle wants him to do with great, power, great responsibility. So he's like, I got to do something. He's stuck in that trap. We understand that. I got all these powers. I need to go out and do something. As if there isn't. Listen, what they need to illustrate is how many mutants are there. How many superpowered beings are really out there? I mean, if you really want to get into the nitty gritty, let's look at how many super beings are out there that can actually go out and do something. And then look at how many super villains, and then look at the people who are in the middle. Because there are there are superheroes, there are super villains, and there are just super people. There are just people who have superpowers who really don't go out and do a lot of things. And if you look at the Morlocks, they actually lived under the sewers because a lot of them were deformed, but they were all super beings. They all had superpower. And they were pretty much led into the sewers by the normal people who outcasted them, and they always felt jealous that they did not look a certain way like the X-Men. The X-Men are very beautiful people. Scott Summers, he's in perfect human, shape. He's a good-looking guy. Jean Grey is beautiful. Storm is a goddess in her own country. I mean, even Wolverine is a good-looking, hunky guy. You know what I mean? So, even Hank's a good-looking guy. So these, the Morlocks always admired the X-Men and always was jealous of them because they had to live into the sewers. And at one time, the Morlocks actually got into it with the X-Men for one reason or another. So the Morlocks aren't necessarily bad people. They were led by Callisto. They're not bad people or villains, but they had to do things to help them survive. So they had to steal and things along that line. I mean, if you really want to get into it with Marvel, go there. Introduce us to the Morlocks because they have a very interesting storyline. And like I said, they really got into it with the X-Men, but it wasn't like a battle to the finish. Like they weren't trying to kill the X-Men. They were pretty much trying to, I don't know, make the X-Men look at what's going on with them. Now, one time they actually got a hold of Scott, and it's very seldom that you see Scott Summers not being able to use his optic blast. Scott Summers' optic blast, people think it's an I beam. No, it's actually an energy blast coming from another dimension. And when they got a hold of them, Scott and some of the X-Men went down there looking for the Morlocks. They were looking for Callisto actually. So when they went down there, they overpowered the X-Men pretty quickly, but the X-Men weren't really there to fight them. And they kind of held on to Scott, and Callisto calls Scott pretty, because she thinks he's a beautiful man. And they hold on to him so long that Scott is not able to use the sun to generate his power. And I just thought that was interesting. Like things like that. Scott without his power. He gets his power from the sun, but his energy comes from another dimension. So, and at that point, Scott was able to take off his ruby quartz glasses and able to see the world, like he used to see it. Because without those glasses, he can't control his power. When he opens his eyes, boom, an optic blast comes out. So, talk about that, or talk about when the X-Men, when Scott and Wolverine went into it, got into it real bad, and then, Scott became Weapon X, or not, Wolverine became Weapon X, and he was missing a hand. And it was way in the future because a lot of the other X-Men had died off, and so, yeah, talk about that, or it's just so much they can do, but they want to do this whole female, like the Woman King. Like, I'm not gonna watch the Woman King. For one, Woman King, like, get out of here. She's a queen. She's not a king. I'm not. And then that whole story is just it's just totally diluted. And talk about this African drive against the white slavers and colonizers when the African people sold African people into slavery. It's just like we did it to ourselves. And the colonizers took advantage of that. Slavery is still big, like right now. It's still a huge thing. And the She-Hulk is sitting around in that meeting. He took a whole segment of just sitting there talking. Nobody wants to see the She-Hulk in Hulk form sitting there talking to the Abomination. Nobody wants to see that. We want to see the She-Hulk and the Abomination fight. We don't want to see them sitting there talking about She-Hulk's feelings. It's just... I tried with you. I tried. The She-Hulk is terrible. I mean, it was terrible in episode, like, 3, when she was talking about because she's a woman. She controls her anger and, she might die just because she's a woman. It's just like, where do you get this from? Where do you, what do y'all, an American woman? She might die just because she's a woman. When men, American men, die faster in pretty much every probability, we die faster than women. When we get old, the men die faster than the women. When we're just out on the street in violence, men die faster than gunshot wounds. Men die fast. Heart attack, men die. In what scenario are we talking about where you're just being a regular woman and you die because you're just being a woman? And this is every American woman. Like she was speaking about every American. I'm a woman and I have to control my anger or I just might get killed because I'm angry all the time. Like who? I'm to the point now where I can't even support. Like I watch She-Hulk to try to be nostalgic. That's why I watch it because I want to see. I like to see her turn into the She-Hulk. I like to see her strength. I like to see her hidden powers. A lot of people don't know. Like the Hulk has hidden powers. He doesn't illustrate because they don't show it in a lot of these, MCU's universe. There are different things that the Hulk can do. And they just don't show these attributes. And I'm waiting for them to even mention some of these attributes or just show some of the things that the Hulk can do. But now the Hulk is just a watered down. Like, what are they going to do when Worldbreaker Hulk needs to be seen? They already showed the Hulk being sent off and to another world. But what are they going to do when they do the story arc where the Hulk actually comes back to destroy everyone on the planet who he thinks had something to do with sending him away? What are they going to do then? What are they going to do with the Hulk that ate 8 nurses? He ate 8 nurses. Ate them. Chewed them up and ate them, and they have to stop him. What are they going to do when it comes to that? When Worldbreaker Hulk comes back pissed and he takes down the Fantastic Four and everyone else like they're not even there. Okay, what are they going to do when the Skrulls come to town? And we already know the Skrulls are coming because Captain Marvel fights one of them. What are they going to do when the Skrulls come to town and all of these superheroes die? They even get blown up. I mean, it's graphic. What are they going to do then? Because the Hulk you're seeing now, your big brain Hulk, you just don't believe now that he's big brain Hulk. And he's using all these big words. You don't believe he can be Pharaoh anymore. You don't believe that. You don't look at the Hulk doing yoga and going, this is the same Hulk that killed Reed Richards. There's the same Hulk that killed Susan Richards. There's the same Hulk that killed, that beat up Captain America and almost killed him. That beat up Ant-Man when he was large and almost killed him. This the same Hulk that killed Ben. You're not gonna believe that. You're not gonna believe that this is the same Hulk that is the only person left on the planet at one time. The whole planet is destroyed, and the Hulk is the only one there, and the Hulk is being eaten by these bugs that mutated, these roaches that mutated, and the only source of meat on the planet is the Hulk. And they constantly eat him. And he regenerates back and then they eat him again. Like, how are we going to do those stories where Hulk turns in Maestro, when the Hulk is the old Hulk and he's Maestro Hulk? Like, if you ever read about Maestro Hulk and how he became that way, But when Hulk is old and he stays in Hulk form and he's just huge, he's big and he crushes anything in his way, anything. Like he's the Hulk that you want to see when Wanda was messing with his mind and he went up against Tony Stark and the Hulk. But like that's the Hulk that we want to see. Like, see, these story arcs are going to be completely confusing, and the problem is people are not going to support it because it's not going to be what we read about for years. And they're going to lose a lot of money doing this. They should have never let these 5 women write She-Hulk. They should have never let them go anywhere near it. These women didn't even read about She-Hulk. They know nothing about her. But they wanted to bring this female energy into a series that men wrote and read. Men wrote She-Hulk. Men are the one who was reading She-Hulk. 80% of her comic book fans were men. No man in his right mind wants to sit there and watch Bronski cross his legs. No man. No man. No man in his right mind who knows about the abomination. We want to see the Bronski that fought up against the Hulk when he was first introduced. And we like the fact that he was a mercenary. We want to see that Bronski. Like we want to see Bronski when Bronski wasn't even the Hulk. He was just super serumed up and he was fighting against the Hulk. We wanted that character to stay. Even though he got his bones crushed and the Hulk beat his ass, still, we know that the serum he got was, it did a lot of things to him and it made him super healing and super fast, super strong. We wanted to keep that super soldier going. Not only that, you still got the Hulk series that will definitely come out if they keep going this way, where they bring A-Bomb and the Red Hulk. What are they going to do then? Because the Red Hulk, okay, so the Red Hulk is Captain Ross, who did the actor he actually just died. So they're gonna or General Ross, excuse me, they're gonna bring in another General Ross, who's Betty's father. So they have to bring in another General Ross, whoever the actor is gonna be. But that actor turns into the Red Hulk. And you would think that the Red Hulk, A-Bomb, all these people are the same. They're not. The Red Hulk's ability is he can absorb energy. And when he fights up against the Hulk, he's actually absorbing his energy. This is what made the Red Hulk so dangerous. This is power and his weakness. And he can absorb all kind of energy too. So, but he is the nemesis of the Green Hulk. And you also got, if they're going to keep doing throwbacks and stuff like that, you also got the time where the Hulk turned into the Gray Hulk. The Gray Hulk is stronger than the regular Hulk. So you have that whole thing going on too. He's stronger, but he's more feral. He's not stupid. He just he gives his self over to being more Hulk than anything, and he also grows taller. So the Hulk, as it stands, is sometimes he's 8 feet, sometimes he's 12, and I think he gets bigger than that. Also, one of the Hulk's abilities is the Hulk can jump, miles and miles, as you've seen that. But what they don't illustrate is how far up the Hulk can actually jump. The Hulk can actually, jump almost into outer space. They also don't illustrate the fact that the Hulk is very sneaky. He's for his size, the Hulk can be very, very quiet, and they illustrated that in in one of the Hulks, but they didn't do it too well. The Hulk can sneak around even in Hulk form, where you barely even see him. I mean, he just has a lot of attributes to him. The Hulks. Another thing is they don't illustrate a Hulk. Okay, so Jennifer said she's invulnerable. She's not invulnerable. She's like, nothing can hurt me. I'm pretty invulnerable. That's nowhere near the truth. That's nowhere near the truth. They can dose her up with a sedative and knock her out. We know this because they did it to the Hulk to get him to stop fighting when the Shatari came. He went into a rampage, and he totally gave over to it, and they had to shoot him with these sedatives. And what was happening is his healing factor was burning through the sedatives, but it showed that uh, the Hulk's one of the Hulk's weakness is his healing factor has a limit. It's not limitless. So, Jennifer Walters saying that nothing can hurt her, she's invulnerable. It's like, no, I mean, eventually they're gonna find it out, but no, that's not true. There are needles that can penetrate her skin, and they can knock her out. You know, so this whole Jennifer Walters that they have is she's just oblivious to what she really is, and I'm glad that they tried to get the Hulk to try to explain it to her, but she went on this whole woman BS, that they wrote into it, and they shouldn't have. What they and also in the series they illustrated. Oh my God, the Wrecker. They had four dudes jump her in the last, I think, in the episode before that, when she was walking home, and these four guys had magical, weapons. What they failed to illustrate is that those four guys were actually Asgardians. They're super powered beings. And if you don't, okay, so Asgard is now on Earth, right? But here's the thing about Asgardians: they live a very, very, very long time, and a lot of them are way stronger than any human. But there are some of them that are just they're of the warrior class, and they have special abilities. The Wrecker is one of them, and he's one of four, and they're all criminals, and all of their abilities are magical. All of their abilities are magical, and they can do damage to Jennifer Walters, and she's just throwing them around like they're nothing. Not to mention, they're very small. They're like regular human size. If you look in the comic books and look at the size of the Wrecker, he's almost as big as a damn Hulk, and he carries a crowbar. And the other one carries like a huge ball, like a mace. But I mean, these guys are vicious, and whenever they show up, there always has to look. You know who they usually fight? Thor, because they know Thor. They're from the same place he's from. Thor has to usually come out of the sky and fight all of these guys, and they give Thor a run for his money. And the way they illustrate them fighting against Jennifer, I was like, "Are you guys kidding me?" Oh, this is the most trashy. This is these women do not read. They did not read the comic books. They don't, and it just hurts to try to look at this and go, this is not the same. These are not the same people who we've been reading about for years. 20, 30 years we've been reading about the Wrecker, and now they show up, and the Wrecker is some regular schmo that is sitting there having a conversation with the She-Hulk and the Abomination, like it's like the Wrecker is an angry, angry, angry person. There is no reasoning with the Wrecker. Him and his crew. There's no reasoning with these guys. All they all they do is come and tear stuff up on as large a scale as they can. His name is the Wrecker for a reason. And then there's the comic books where these X-Men actually get caught. They get caught by the government. When they do, it's a Wolverine series actually. And when they do, Wolverine is one of them. He gets caught. They take him to this place. I forgot what the island's called, but they lock them all up. But the thing about them is they all have some type of mutant control. Now, you saw that with Deadpool. You saw that with Deadpool. Here's one of the Deadpool series. You saw that with Deadpool, but the thing about that is, let me see if I have any of it. Here's one of the Wolverine series. All that with Deadpool, but here's the thing about that. In that jail that they showed when Deadpool was there, and eventually the Juggernaut got out and stuff like that, that jail wasn't the same jail that I'm talking about. For one, the jail that I'm talking about, those guards would actually kill one of the mutants. They would actually kill the mutants. They were very hard on you. And they knew everyone's secret power. Like, these guards were no joke. And they would torture the mutants. They hated them. They would torture the mutants. And the mutants would, of course, always try to break out. But during that series, the Wrecker and his crew, they were there, and they kept happening. Okay, so they had all these mutant control. However they controlled the mutants, it wasn't all the same. It wasn't just a thing on your neck and it controlled your ability, because they found out that a lot of them there weren't mutants. They had abilities that didn't come from mutations. The Wrecker's one of those people. And he said, you guys think that I'm a mutant. He says, my power doesn't come from mutation. It comes from Asgard. It's magical. He lets them know, I'm a person of magic. Like, Thor is not a mutant. Thor's power is magical. The Wrecker is the same way. He's like, my power is magical. So every now and then they had to douse the Wrecker. They had to do something to stop his power from growing, because it kept growing. So it wasn't just, how they showed in a one movie where they just put a thing on your neck and you couldn't do what it was an inhibitor. No, they got that inhibitor from when mutant registration started, and the Sentinels came and all that, stuff, and then they start, they caught you, and then they put a thing on your neck to douse your mutant ability some way through your genetic code, but not okay. So when you look at, let's take the Juggernaut. When you look at the Juggernaut's ability is, he's not a mutant. Cain Marko is not a mutant. So this is why I looked at that movie and I went, you guys don't study the comic books at all. Why? You have the Juggernaut and, this huge box. He's knocking on a wall. He's obviously strong, but you got, you I don't know if you had a thing on his neck or not, but the Juggernaut, for one, that wall couldn't hold the Juggernaut. The Juggernaut's abilities come from the Jewel of Sidorak. The Jewel of Sidorak, when touched, is okay. The Jewel of Sidorak is a conduit from one world to another. It's actually controlled by a god. That's what it is. The Jewel of Sidorak is controlled by a god, and and that god puts his power into the Jewel of Sidorak, and then that. How long have I been talking? You know what? I'll do it. If you guys are interested, I'll talk about the rest of it later. I'm out. I mean, not unless you guys want to keep listening. Let's see. There's one person here. Okay, I'll keep talking. The Jewel of Sidorak is actually comes from another universe where a god, I forgot what his name is, he controls the Jewel of Sidorak and he puts his power into the Jewel of Sidorak. So when Cain Marco found the Jewel of Sidorak and turned it to the Jewel, for one, if he wouldn't have found it in the situation that he was in, he was going to die. So when Cain Marco turned into the Juggernaut, which is an ability that comes from a god, Cain Marco is not a mutant. And if you ever took the Jewel of Sidorak away from Cain Marco, he would die. Cain Marco also fought against the Hulk. He went blow for blow with the Hulk, and of course the Hulk beat him. Wolverine fought against the Hulk at one time, and the Hulk tore him in half. So that's what I'm saying. They're going to have problems if they keep following story arcs. They keep looking into. They keep going into the Hulk. Now that they got Jennifer here, they're going to have some issues because the way the Hulk is being betrayed and the way She-Hulk is being betrayed, nobody really cares about these things. Nobody cares about the She-Hulk and who she's dating. Even though we know that she works at a law firm, we know that some people at the law firm like her, dislike her. Like, we know these things. But the biggest problem is we don't care. We don't care that Jennifer Walters was a lawyer. We care about Jennifer Walters' ability to smash people. We care about her strength, because at one time she's supposed to be stronger than a Hulk. I don't know how they got that. I've never seen World Breaker She-Hulk. It's like, nah, the Hulk can turn 3 different colors when he gets angry. It's like, Jennifer Walters ain't doing none of that. And they kind of show her being stronger than the Hulk, like in the series. And I just look at it like, you guys don't really read the series. You're just putting stuff out there to make women feel like they can, be stronger than men, when that's not true. That's just not true. You're just not stronger than we are. You're not. You're not. I'm sorry. On average, women are not stronger than men. And the more you push this narrative, the more women are going to get, into altercations with men with a false vibrato and think that they're going to beat somebody who's 17 times stronger than them, and they're going to get their faces kicked in. They're going to get their egos busted when men stop caring about the fact that you have tits. They're just there, and when they listen and you hit them, it's gonna be like it's already happening. And these shows that are the Woman King and all this nonsense that they're putting out is endangering these women and making them think that the American bubble is the whole world. Like, everywhere you go, you can stand up to a man and you can hold your own. And this is a lie. This is a lie that's going to get... listen, if you look and see what's happening in Iran, like, I want, like, they're actually shutting down the internet in Iran because they're taking those women who are out there thinking that they can be mouthy, thinking that, all this American nonsense they try to bring over there, they are deading those women. They're knocking those women off left and right. Just look at some of the TikToks about it. These women are scared for their lives. They're trying to shut us down. They're trying to stop our voice. They're going to shut down the internet. They're going to stop us from talking. They're trying to silence us. They're not trying to silence you. They're silencing you. And their government is the one that's doing it. This is why this woke stuff is so dangerous, because when you look at these series that are written about these women live in a first world country. You're living in a first world country, and you're putting out a narrative to anybody who can view these series, and you're saying it's safe for you to go up against a full-grown male. It's safe for you to say what you want. It's safe for you to attack a man. You and a man are equal. It's okay for you to compete with a man on a physical level. And that's what you're getting at a lot of these, SheHulk and all of these. I mean, Captain Marvel. It's like Captain Marvel is decent, but they even screwed the pooch on that. It's like, and it was decent, but I mean they messed that up too, because the original Captain Marvel was a black woman, and then they tried to bring her back. Then they tried to bring the original Captain Marvel, the black woman, into the light, but they did it through the Wanda series. It was like, you did the whole Captain Marvel movie and you put Brie Larson in there. And then you did a Wanda series on like Netflix, and then you made a black Captain Marvel. And you didn't even do it right. Captain Marvel actually got her name from Marvel. Marvel is a Kree warrior who came here because of the Skrulls. The Skrulls, and I could talk about this all day. The Skrulls and the Kree are fighting a galactic war. The Skrulls are shapeshifters. So they wanted to invade Earth and take over the Earth. And at one point, one comic book, they actually did. If you look at the Spider-Woman comic books, you'll know that that's one of her nemesis. She always fights against Skrulls, and she doesn't fight against the weak ones who just take over your body. She fights against the big Skrulls, the ones that are super powered. A lot of the Skrulls aren't super powered, but they're all warriors. Some of the Skrulls are, I forgot what they call them, but they're super powered Skrulls. Spider-Woman, and not the Gwen Spider-Woman. There's another Spider-Woman who has the ability to fly, or more like glide. I think she has a stinger, and she's super powered. She's strong as heck. But that is such a good comic book. Anyway, so Marvel came to warn the Earth about the incoming invasion of the Skrull. And what happened, he got into an accident when he did it. And his power was released. And when it hit Captain Marvel, the white Captain Marvel. And it pretty much knocked her out. And when she woke up, she had his ability, Carol Danvers. She had, his ability, and he actually died. It's kind of like Green Lantern type of thing, and he actually died. But that's the white Captain Marvel. I forgot how the black Captain Marvel was actually introduced, but she was actually way before the white Captain Marvel ever was. So I'm just saying, when you look at these stories, and when you've read the comic, I've been reading comic books since I was, and try to look at what Stan Lee and all the people who wrote these books and what they were trying to illustrate. Now this new wokeness has changed the face of the comic books to where men are diluted and women are exalted even above the men. And listen, in some comic books, women were powerful. They had powerful positions, but they weren't the most powerful on the planet. Like Storm is a powerful mutant, but she's not the most powerful on the planet. When you look at the Queen Lalandra, who comes from, I forgot what alien race she is, but she actually falls in love with Professor Xavier. She has a whole empire that she runs, but she's a female and she's queen. She's not the woman king. She's Queen Lalandra. And one of her most powerful warriors is the Gladiator. And they actually come to Earth, and when they get here, the Gladiator fights up against the Juggernaut. The Juggernaut never seen him before, and he just runs at him. With the Juggernaut's power being that whenever he starts moving, nothing can stop him. Well, he comes at the Gladiator, and when he comes at the Gladiator just punches him one time and sends him miles and miles and miles. Just bang, one time, boom, he's miles and miles and miles away, gone, boom. And the X-Men are like, I've never seen that happen to the Juggernaut before. Well, you're dealing with a whole alien race that, they don't fight on Earth. They fight aliens. They fight super power aliens. So you have a woman who's in charge, and Lalandra, and the females of her race are strong and are maybe a little stronger than any normal human. So she can get in the ring with Mike Tyson and hold her own. She won't beat Mike Tyson as far as strength-wise, but a young Mike Tyson, she can get in and box with Mike Tyson and hold her own. She's stronger than any normal average man. And she's not superhuman. That's just the way they are. But her superpowered beings that are with her are pretty much stronger than probably anybody on Earth except the Hulk. So it just gives you some illustration of some of what the Hulk and all of these beings that are outside of just what you're seeing and how and what they're going to be up against if they keep going if they keep following in the MC universe. And when these beings are introduced, because right now they're introducing Star Fox. They're introduced, in the Eternals. And beings like that, in the Eternals. And we know that's whole universe wide. But when you start coming down to just who's fighting on the planet and or planets, Beta Ray Bill, beings like that, the Hulk can't be feminized and fight against these beings. There's no way the Hulk is doing yoga and fighting with Beta Ray Bill. He's not doing it, even though the Hulk beats Beta Ray Bill. But you have to beat Beta Ray Bill. You're not going to look at Beta Ray Bill and just no. Beta Ray Bill is a Thor. He's about. Listen, Beta Ray Bill is almost. He can't beat Thor, but Beta Ray Bill's mind is way more militant than Thor. The Thor that we're seeing is a watered down version of what Thor really, really is. And we're looking at Thor. Even if you looked at the series recently that they had out called "What If," Thor is some looks like some local yokel goofball, Point Break lookalike hippie. That is nothing like what Thor really is. Thor is nothing like that. Thor is a killer. Thor is a killer. That's what he is. 100%. Wherever he goes, he will stomp you. He's that dude. Uh, but they tried to water him down, but they watered him down for. See, that's what I want them to do. I want them to introduce us to the real Thor, to the real Jotunheim. I want them to go and fight uh, uh, the real frost giants. Like we saw an illustration of the frost giants, but you don't really get to see the war between. Like they brought up the war between the frost giants and Asgardian, but they didn't really get into it. They just had Thor down there having fun. No, 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 no. No, if they had a writer who really come in and write about what happened between the frost giants and between Jotunheim and actually all the realms, because the frost giants at one time was trying to take a hold of all the realms, and then they had to be stopped by the Asgardians. So this wasn't a war that happened and Thor goes down and he to get Surtur's helmet and all this nonsense. No, it is a brutal war where there are many, many, many losses, and it's brutal. So it's almost like you want the people who did Game of Thrones to do it, you know what I mean? Or you want the people who did Sin City, which would even be better, to come out and do it, that type of thing, because it would really give us, the people who read these stories and want to see these stories in live action, it would give us something. And for these women who are looking at these stories and going, now that these scripts are being rewritten by these women, it's like, you know what? If you want the She-Hulk, you can have it. You can have the She-Hulk. You want that version of the She-Hulk, you can have it. We want the version of the She-Hulk in the Secret Wars. That's what we want. We want the version of the She-Hulk in we want the version of the She-Hulk in Worldbreaker Hulk. We want the She-Hulk that fights up against the Hulk that tries to stop him. Like you guys want the candy ass Hulk, you can have him. You can have Mark Ruffalo's Hulk. It's like, that's what you want, you can have him. Give us Ed Norton. We want Ed Norton back. That's what we want. We want Ed Norton that fought against Bronski. That's what we want. If this is what you want to do, you can have it. Give us Ed Norton back, and we'll take that. We'll take that. We'll take that. Because that Hulk right there, we know is going to bring the pain. If you want candy ass Hulk that, is eating damn donuts, if you want the Thor who is the fat Thor, you can have those Thors. We don't want anything to do with that. We want the Thor that tears stuff up. We don't want the stupid Thor who can't think. That's not who we want. I'm just saying. I'm just, I'm not even worried about the series because I'm not invested. I'm just looking at it like from a writer's point of view. I'm looking at the fan base, who they're losing, and then I'm looking as let's just say I was an investor in Marvel stuff. I would look at this and go, and I would go, if we're going to allow these women to write these series. There are like 6 series that are, or there are 6 shows that are out, and every single show is disappointing. And I'm going to not only introduce characters like Titania and make her look like a complete buffoon, not only and then introduce other characters like the Wrecker and make him look like and his cronies and make him look like a complete idiot. He doesn't. The Wrecker is unrecognizable. Like the Wrecker has a whole mask on his face. He's like, the Wrecker is as tall or is not taller than Thor, and he's wider than Thor. I mean, his shoulder width is like way out there. He's just huge. He's 100% Asgardian muscle. Like this, is the dude who can take on a frost giant hand to hand and get with a frost giant. Like the Wrecker's a huge. You don't have none of that. So this is what I think is going to happen as far as fans are concerned. We're going to absorb this nonsense that they're putting out on every level. And we're going to go, okay, the next thing you put out, if it doesn't do what the Black Panther does, then we're never going to support you holistically again. Which means we're not going to go to the movies and buy your tickets. We're going to wait until your movie has been seen, has been Rotten Tomatoed, and then we're going to wait about maybe 6 months or so, and maybe we'll get it on Netflix or HBO or Amazon, and it'll cost, instead of us spending $20 to go see it in the movies, it'll cost us $5. $5 and we'll look at it. You're not going to get any popcorn concessions. You're not going to get soda. You're not going to get... Those theaters are all going to lose money if you keep putting out trash like this, because we're not going. We're not. We're just going to wait, and we're going to be like, do I really want to see... Thor Love and Thunder, it doesn't have great ratings. It doesn't. And one of the reasons is because they keep making Thor stupid. And they made Odin. They made, not Odin, they made Zeus look like a complete idiot. And the more you do this, the less credibility these movies will have with the people who really want to pay for them. Listen, the reason why Iron Man was so good is because Iron Man was true to form. You got a good looking Tony Stark. You tried to match him up with you got his looks right. You got the fact that he's a playboy, billionaire, philanthropist, arrogant as hell, genius. You got all of those right. His arrogance was delicious. It's what we needed. It's the way we envisioned Tony Stark, and you got a great person, Robert Downey Jr. play it. And then you killed him off. But nonetheless, we needed this. But then you start messing up when you introduce the Mandarin. First, you introduce the Mandarin as an actor. Then you finally introduce the Mandarin in the 12 Rings as a Mandarin. But even the way you introduced him in looking like he's dressed up in today's outfit with the suit. No, the Mandarin in a book that was said to come back didn't come back as some dude in a suit and tie. He looked. Listen, for one, the Mandarin that came back with his warriors, like the terracotta warriors. That's what happened. See, there was a real Mandarin. This guy really did exist. If you look at the terracotta warriors and you look at who they replicate, that was an army that was replicated off of a real army that was trying to take over. And if you just hear about, the Mandarin and, and how most people in China speak Mandarin, like this dude was something else. He killed a lot of people. So they take these stories and they try to bring them into today's world and try to make it digestible. But the people who actually support these movies and the readers of these movies don't want things like that. We want it. Okay, we want what we read. This is why Tony Stark did so good. Iron Man 1 and 2, and you start falling off on Iron Man 3. You got Rhodey somewhat correct. It's like, okay, Rhodey's character, military, boom, okay, he was a general, boom, okay, Rhodey. So that's War Machine. So we was okay with War Machine. You got that right. Some of the other characters, not so much. When Secret Wars, not Secret Wars. Yeah, I think it was Secret Wars. Iron Man and Iron Man and Captain America, when they went at it, it's somewhat right. Here's the thing about it: Captain America actually died, but you had Captain America going into the future to live his life with his lover, the secret agent chick. That isn't the way it ended. Captain America, his one weakness, there's a few of them, but one of his biggest weaknesses is bullets. Captain America, and you don't have Captain America running around with a gun. Captain America is a killer. You got Captain America running around like he's Mr. Wholesome, and you're like, this dude was at war. When he was at war with the Red Skull, who was trying to take over the whole planet. Do you think Captain America was just knocking out Nazis? He was shooting them in the face. It's just like, I know you guys want America to look like we're all wholesome, but we are killers through and through. We are a whole. Our history is one of the most bloodiest histories up to this very day. Our presidents will send our soldiers in to take over a whole country in a heartbeat, and there is always bloodshed. Men, women, children, dogs, cats, everybody dies. One missile, bang. Obama was blowing people up, innocent people. He was toasting them, all in the name of so-called terrorism. It's all a lie. It's all a lie. So Captain America is a killer, and in the comic books, he's got a gun. And here he's just running around, throwing a damn shield. We the reader, we the supporter, we're just going to wait. We're no longer going to support you at the movies. And that's a shame because we want to see it on the big screen. But you're going to lose. You're already doing it. You're losing millions and millions and millions of dollars the more you cater to women. You cater to women, you lose money in almost every front. You can't show me where you cater to women and you're making money. When it comes to something that was written and well received by males. Show me. Because you're not. The men who grew up reading this and watching these shows and had our children growing up watching these shows would sit around and talk about the Hulk and his abilities and Wolverine and would theorize on who's faster, the Flash or Pietro, and just have long conversations about a comic book, something that's made up, and then would fantasize ourselves being in those positions, and then compare them to people who we actually knew, people in our neighborhood who were super fast, super strong. You don't understand. A lot of these comic books were real to us. We knew somebody in the hood who had super strength. We knew there was a guy in our neighborhood who had super strength. And one day, some people fooled around and found out his name was Charles Woody. Yeah, and his brother was a speedster, very fast. But the fastest guy in our neighborhood, his name was Eric, and he was just a regular dude. We would all get out there and run, and we would have these races on who's faster, who's strongest, and so. That's the way I grew up. And Eric came out and said, "Not one of you in this neighborhood can beat me." You're talking about 5 project buildings with 44 apartments in each of them, filled with nothing but black people and one white family. Paul and his wife. That was it. Everybody else black. Everybody else can play ball. Everybody else can play football, basketball. And he came out and said, none of y'all can beat me. And he beat every person on the block. We had a Flash. We had a Hulk. We had somebody who was sneaky. We had somebody who could jump super high. So these stories were relevant to us because we seen it every day. We had an Iron Fist. My next door neighbor was a dude who knew karate. Yeah. We had our own Iron Fist. We, we had a juggernaut. We had a dude who was a juggernaut who we thought was unstoppable. Until some guys jumped him and they killed him. Yeah, Williams. Yeah, they killed him. Big old Doug. He was our juggernaut. We see that's what I'm saying. These characters were real to us. That's how we digested them. And now we see these characters and we just don't get it because this is not the same character that we read about. We don't care about what they ate for lunch. That's not what we cared about. We don't care about them sitting in board meetings. Not unless it was somebody who, like Tony Stark or somebody like that, where we know where he gets his money from, then it's okay to have a board meeting, and all this other stuff, but we wanted to see Tony Stark make stuff. We had geniuses, and, my brother was one of them. Just a smart dude who decided he didn't want to go to high school anymore, so he dropped out and he joined the military. He was just it was boring to him. We had people who were super creative right there in our neighborhood. And that's what I'm saying, these series that these people are putting out are so foreign to us that they're trying to grab a whole other universe of readers and listeners and watchers, audience. And when they do this, they lose the original audience that will support them, and our children and nieces, nephews. When you lose that base audience and you go to an audience that you're trying to get a hold of, if that audience doesn't gravitate towards your material and hang on to it, then you're going to lose them in the next series, which is happening now. They're losing a lot of money. That's happening now. And you're going to lose your base audience, which is us, and that's also happening now. And they're just falling because we don't recognize Thor. Thor was okay when you first introduced him. When him and the Hulk fought, we was with that. We was with that. Now, the Thor that we see, Love and Thunder, you know why it's losing money? Because your base audience doesn't recognize this Thor. We don't understand this Thor. And then, of course, at one time, Jane did become a Thor. But you got to understand, okay, at one time, Jane became a Thor. At one time, in the Superman series, his wife became a super villain. So this happens a lot where you get, at one time, Pepper Potts became an Iron Woman. And so this happens a lot where the superhero, whoever he is married to or involved with romantically, they become what the superhero actually is in some shape, form, or fashion because they're hanging around him all the time. So this is not a like Jane has the Thor and blah blah blah. Like you don't look at that and go, oh, things are gonna be different now. No, you're just like, so what if she's not if she's not if she had a decent fight scene, but they still made light of the whole thing. And they don't like these are not like the Thors. This is why I wish they bring Battery Bill back. But he's in a whole new universe, a different universe. Because Battery Bill didn't play with anybody, and that's the problem. Yeah, they have people who they're in love with, but the whole way they're written as if a normal person can all of a sudden have their mentality and their understanding of the power that they have. It's like, what? Wait, what? Jane can't understand what it's like to fight a frost giant who spends centuries trying to kill her and her people. She can't get that because, for one, Jane is an American woman. She's not under siege by anybody. She's not. She's not in duress, stress, nothing. The people of Asgard, every time Odin goes to sleep, they get attacked. It's the one time they think they can go into Asgard and take Asgard over. And they're not only attacked by frost giants, they're attacked by every realm that can get there and end up at their gates and try to take it over. And sometimes Loki helps them because Loki is actually a frost giant. Yeah. Loki is not from Asgard. Loki is from Jotunheim. He's a frost giant. His mother's name is Laufey. And she's huge. Yeah, she's a whole giant. Like, I think Laufey is like 15, 20 feet. She's huge. And she has this huge, booming voice. Huge. She calls him, and when she calls to him, she calls him by his name. Yeah, she's huge. And sometimes you can hear her call him by, Loki, but Loki, that's what she sounds like. She sounds like a huge man. And Loki didn't even know who she was until she showed up. After she showed up in Asgard, when Loki tricked Thor and had him in bondage during the Odin sleep. Odin has to sleep to regenerate his powers. Loki had his frost giants and all come in and take over Asgard during the Odin sleep and chain up Thor. And then when Laufey heard about it in Jotunheim, she came and found Loki when she found out he was king of Asgard. She was, Loki. That's what she sounds like. And he's like, who's this? Like, when she showed up, he was like, who are you? She was like, it's your mother, Laufey. And he's looking at her like, wait, what? You're my mother? Yeah, Loki is a frost giant. And they did illustrate this in a couple of things. If you look at the What If series, they show Loki as a frost giant. So I'm just saying, but they showed the Frost Giants as some, I don't know. Maybe because it's Disney and everybody has to absorb it, but every character who will eat you and will completely destroy you don't understand, the Frost Giants hate the humans because they're looked at and looked after by Thor and his father. And his father before him. Thor's grandfather. They protect the fifth realm. They protect our realm. And the Frost Giants hate us. So they'll do anything to come in and freeze our whole world and kill everybody. So once again, in the What If series, they show them as just the nicest guys who are just no, they hate us. And I would love to see them as we know as we know them. That's what I would like to see. That's what bothers me about these things. And I try to digest Jennifer Walters, but I just can't anymore. I'm almost just ready to skip through just to see if they, I don't know. It's almost an adventure just to see where this is going to go, but it just hurts to see their everyday life because it's not even being written how it was written in the comic books. You know what I mean? This whole struggle with her not being able to find a mate, but people want to mate with her as Jennifer Walters. Or I mean, as the She-Hulk. It's like, yeah, people want to bang the She-Hulk, of course. But it's not that easy to sleep with a Hulk. You're risking your life. You're literally risking your life to sleep with a Hulk. This is not Anatomy 101. You're risking your life to sleep with one of these people. And the way they douse down the one thing that fuels them, which is anger, is just completely beyond me. It's like, anger is what fuels you. Like the Hulk said, I'm always angry. Like, anger is what fuels you. Another thing is, the Hulk is strong without turning into the Hulk. There's another thing they don't illustrate in the Jennifer Walters. When she fights against Titania in this last series, or the series, or the last show, the show before last, Titania waits till she turns, or she doesn't wait, but she's at the wedding, and then she punches or she pushes Jennifer Walters or something, and Jennifer Walters goes flying. No. Jennifer Walters is still strong. She's still immensely strong as Jennifer Walters. And they make it seem like she has to hulk up just to get that strength and that benefit. They do the same thing when she drinks. It's just like she can get drunk and no. We know that's wrong too. The reason why we know that's wrong is because Mark Ruffalo said he shot himself in the head and the big guy spit it back out. What does that tell us? Even in their normal form, they still have Hulk abilities. You can't walk up to Mark Ruffalo and punch him in the face and land him. You can't do that to Banner. Banner Banner would catch your fist and twist your whole arm off completely. Like off. Like the Hulk is still the Hulk. He's just in Banner's body. Like, if Banner still has those abilities, and when you look at Worldbreaker Hulk, and then when the Hulk actually was the only one left on the planet, when he changes, he's old. But when something comes and attacks him, he turns back into the Hulk. Like it's a whole... Like, the Hulk gives you Hulk abilities regardless if you turn into the Green Monster or not. Like, you can't You're not going to be able to crush Jennifer Walters as Jennifer Walters. You can't. You can't hit her with a car. You can't. And that's another thing that's messing up the series because they're showing she can only use her powers when she's in the Hulk form, like when she got attacked by the Wrecker. It's like, well, that's not true. She could have beat those guys' ass. I mean, as the way they are, being that they're not Asgard using their Asgardian. They were using Asgardian weapons, but they didn't use. Uh, they didn't look like Asgardians. They weren't as big as his whole crew. So she could beat up even superheroes just as Jennifer Walters. This is what I'm saying. There's abilities that they don't show, but they have her turn into the Hulk in order to, show. Like another thing they did, like in I think the second show, she at the end, her dad wanted her to do some stuff around the house, carry some heavy stuff. She turned into the Hulk to do it. She doesn't have to do that. Anyway, it's your boy Tone 202. I'm out.